So Tony Pulis has been typecast as a pragmatic but boring football manager, the type of boss who creates teams that make you wish you were doing anything else but watching them play football. So let's take a look at the top boring teams to play in the Premier League. Arsenal 98-99. It seems strange to criticise a team who finished 1 point behind the champions. Arsenal fans would probably snap your arm off for that nowadays, but it was a fairly dull team. The tempo was set from the start. After an opening day win over Nottingham Forest, Arsene Wenger's side followed it up with 3 consecutive 0-0 draws. A teenage DT was probably blowing a gasket. Their defence was mean, conceding just 17 goals, but they managed just 59 going forward. Not the most exciting team on the planet. Crystal Palace 94-95. To be honest, I don't really know why I'm including Crystal Palace. Since their fans did get kicked by Kung Fu footballers and their star defender got almost castrated on the pitch, sounds like a fairly entertaining season to me. They also reached the semi-finals of both cup competitions, so for Palace fans, this is certainly a memorable season, right? Well, they also finished 19th, were relegated, their top scorer was Chris Armstrong with 8, and they scored a pitiful low number of 32. Blackburn 04-05. Again, this was a season where Blackburn reached an FA Cup semi-final. How were they not exciting, right? Well, I'll tell you how. Graham Souness left the club struggling for goals and points when he jumped ship to Newcastle in September, because of course it made sense for the Magpies to hire the fella at bottom of the league. And Mark Hughes slowly went about steadying the ship, very slowly. By Christmas they'd won just 2 games, Robbie Savage was beating down the door to sign for them, and to be honest, they looked doomed. And Mark Hughes' managerial career looked over before it had even begun. But no, Hughes hauled them to safety in 15th place, but while they conceded a respectable 43, they scored just 32. Of course they did. What do you expect when you start the season with John Stead and Paul Dickov up front? Arsenal 93-94. You know what's boring? Not winning the league for 13 years. But that's not why Arsenal are back on this list. No, George Graham forces his way into the list after boring everyone into submission during the 93-94 season. For God's sake, they played 4 games in October. Nobody scored a single goal for either side. In total, they played out 7 goalless draws, with 21 clean sheets in total. They scored 53 and relied heavily on Ian Wright. They finished 4th. Man City 06-07. Oh yeah, here we go. Man City fans are probably watching the most exciting football of their lives right now, even if the lack of a title race has bored us all to tears. Just a little over 12 months before Sheikh Mansour rolled into town though, they were witnessing one of the most boring teams the Premier League has ever laid eyes on. They conceded 44 and finished 14th. Yep, sure, who cares? The real damning statistic lies up front, where they scored 29. The current team has scored 5 more than that by late November. During that season, they scored their last goal at home on New Year's Day. Their squad was littered with strikers who looked as though they'd won a competition to play for the club. When your top scorer is Joey Barton with 7, you know you're in trouble. Fulham 08-09. Everybody was curious to see what Roy Hodgson had in store for the sequel to Fulham's great escape at the back end of the 07-08 campaign. Were they going to take things to the next level, or were they just going to collapse and get relegated anyway? They finished 7th and qualified for Europe. It was an excellent season. The only problem is they were boring as sin to watch. Andy Johnson was their top scorer with 7. They scored 39 goals and never scored more than 3 goals in a game all season. The thing is though, with Aaron Hughes and Breda Hangeland, remember him, at the back, they only conceded 34, so they enjoyed a brilliant campaign. Arsenal 92-93. Oh, for God's sake, have I not covered them enough? We get it, Arsenal were boring in the 90s, alright? The Premier League's debut season saw the Gunners finish 10th, with Arsenal participating in a record 15 games to finish with just the 1 goal. Middlesbrough 16-17. Of course, Middlesbrough were always going to get a mention. Anyone who was unfortunate enough to cast eyes on them last season must have felt their eyes wanting to fall out of their sockets. Middlesbrough fans, you have my sympathies. If your club goes through the whole season with forwards who've seemingly forgotten where they're supposed to put the ball, you'd at least expect the team to deliver a decent defence, good enough to keep you up. And to be fair, Borough were quite well organised on Peter Karenka. Sure, the strikers were beyond useless, but there was a reason Ben Gibson was getting England call-ups. And then they sacked Karenka, started scoring even less and conceding even more. They sunk like a stone into 19th with 7 goalless draws, 10 clean sheets in total, but just 26 goals scored. Leeds 96-97. And here we have it, the most boring Premier League team of all time. And who's the boss? George Graham, of course. Who else? Leeds finished a comfortable mid-table 11th, a far cry from the turmoil they'd experienced a few years later, but it was such a damn forgettable season. They started off the season in thrilling form, drawing 3-3 at Derby County, and then it was just bog standard dreariness from then. Yeah, they kept 20 clean sheets, conceded just a goal a game, but they also only scored 28.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.